Monday, 1 work session, 1 board meeting. Business meeting format is as follows. The board will follow its approved agenda. During public forum, attendees electing to speak will have 3 minutes. The board chair will address all speakers to provide the rules for the public forum. Following public forum, the meeting will continue with the remaining presentations on the agenda. Following each presentation, the board will have the opportunity to ask questions before moving to the next. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be followed by the invocation? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to come together tonight and to meet as a group and try to make the best decisions that we can for our children and for this district. Please bless the athletes and the students that will be presented tonight. And I'd also like to ask you to please bless Miss Ginger Moore as she leaves us tonight after many years of dedicated service to the school board. Please look after her, her husband Rob, and her family. Amen.
Without objection, the board will approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Hearing none, agenda is approved. Without objection, the board will approve the minutes from the last meeting. Hearing none, minutes are approved. Without objection, the board will approve staff personnel as presented in an executive session. Hearing none, staff personnel is approved. Dr. Quinn, recognitions and appreciations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and welcome to all the people in the served as a teacher assistant and job coach in the program before becoming a certified special education teacher. We're so proud of you for making that journey, and thank you for all your hard work. Next up, we're going to recognize our Clover High School Unified Fan Club. Clover High School's Unified Fan Club racked up awards at the South Carolina State Special Olympics Fall Games held at Converse College September 13th through the 15th. The traditional bowling team was coached by Jasmine Kittle and Elizabeth Sparrow. Gold medals were earned by Matthew Gumlaw, Kenny Clifford, Abby Brothers, and Jaden Dunder. Silver medals were earned by Frankie Jimenez, Logan Kale, and Nolan Garhart, and bronze medals were earned by Zach Kiefer. All right. The unified volleyball team, coached by Patty Myers and Meredith Kincaid, played several matches, making it to the championship round where they finished second in the state. The volleyball team members are Ansley Jackson, Nadia Perkins, Haley Nicholson, Mason Hamilton, Tyler Green, Brady Garhart, Camille Landers, Ella Andrews, and Joseph Wadecki. And lastly, the unified flag football team, coached by Brandon Kerr and Sue Thurman, made it to the championship game and finished second in the state. The silver medalist flag football team members were Kelsey Tidwell, Carolyn Irvin, Jacob Widener, Maddox Huntley, Spencer Sly, Lawson Parks, Mason Sullivan, Cole Caldwell, Jaden McDonald, Cody Nance, Allison Wadecki, and Owen Tatum. Let's give these athletes a huge Miss Myers, don't go far, because we're going to call you right back. Finally, we'd like to salute Ms. Patty Myers, Ms. Lisa Jackson, and their students for presenting at the Transition Alliance of South Carolina Conference in Greenville on September the 9th. The presentations focused on business and soft skills that the students acquire in the best room. Students who joined Mrs. Myers and Ms. Jackson and Haley Nicholson are Haley Nicholson, Carolyn Irvin, Kenny Clifford, and Frankie Jimenez. Congratulations. Let's give this. Nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clover School District staff members of the month are up next. Each month, the Clover School District and United Bank of Clover celebrate the staff members of the month in each school. Tonight, we are proud to recognize the following staff members who have been voted to represent their school for October. And please come forward when your name is called if you're here tonight. Bethany is Kennedy Reinhardt. Bethel is Catherine Ondriska. Crowders Creek is Jill Farmer. Griggs Road is Alex Ware. Larne is Trish Skiles. Kynard is Nicole Thompson. Oak Ridge Elementary School is Marie Pinkston. Clover Middle is Chandler Cargill. Oak Ridge Middle is Jared Williams. CVA is Christopher Powers. ATC is Dr. Francine Mars. The 9th grade campus is Tracy Player. Clover High School is Lisa Jackson for a third time tonight. Come on up. And at the district office, it's Miss Wendy Ashley. Nicely done. Thank you. For our final recognition this evening, and this one's not on the agenda, we would like to ask Mrs. Ginger Marr to come forward. Ms. Marr has faithfully served on the Clover School Board of Trustees for the last 8 years. She served as vice chair for 4 years and as secretary for 2 years. Mrs. Marr and her husband, Rob, are Clover High School graduates. You can find them both in the stands at every home football game and lacrosse game, and most away games as well. They have adopted an eagle and have worked on the Athletic Booster Club board to support all sports teams for several years. And prior to her board service, Ginger and Rob also dedicated hours to the Corlear Booster Club. Mrs. Marr has been the Bethany and Clover Middle School PTO president, and she's also been president of our Cloverleaf Education Foundation. Without question, she is a Blue Eagle through and through. One does not have to be in Ms. Marr's presence for very long to see her leadership emerge. She studies the issues and is always prepared for the work of our district. She asks questions and provides relevant suggestions to make us better. I, for one, will miss her organization and keen attention to detail at board meetings. Rob, we thank you for sharing Ginger with us these last 8 years. We will certainly miss you both, but we know right where we can find you when needed. Please join me in thanking Board of Trustee member Ginger Marr as we celebrate her last board meeting. We wish you many Monday nights of rest and relaxation. Stop smiling, Rob.
Is there anyone signed up for a public forum? No one, all right. Next up is the election of a voting delegate for the SBA Delegate Assembly. Do I have any nominations for this position?
I would like to nominate Jessica Cody as our delegate for the South Carolina School Board Association Delegate Assembly, and Kieran Meets as the alternative.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed likewise. Jessica and Kieran have won.
Congratulations.
Dr. Quinn, Superintendent's report next.
Okay, so each month we like to have a school spotlight, and we've been keeping it real. And in fact, I want to do some shout outs real quick. I was in every single school last week recognizing several teachers, some of them here tonight getting another recognition for rigorous, empowering, authentic learning, keeping it real. But there are some other individuals that we want to highlight tonight for our Keeping It Real spotlight, and they are SROs, because they've become a member of our school family throughout this year and last year as we've expanded their services. So Dr. Hopkins, if you'll bring our gentlemen and sometimes ladies, we have one female SRO, and let's celebrate a little bit about what they do.
All right. Well, good evening, Dr. Quinn and the school board. Tonight, I'm going to share a little bit about our SRO program, the history of it in Clover, and how we've grown, especially over the last couple of years. CSD has funded resource officers in secondary schools for over 30 years. When I first came to Clover High School in 1995 as a teacher and coach, Officer Patterson was our SRO. And a few years later, when I went to the junior high as an administrator, Officer Terry Clinton was our SRO. So we've got a long history in our secondary schools. After that, we had Mr. Tracy Reed, who was with us at BEA. So we've had a history of supporting SROs through district funds for years. In 2022, the state made a decision that they were going to fund SROs. They do that through a grant through the Office of Public Safety. We applied for that grant with the help of the York County Sheriff's Office and the Clover Police Department, and we were lucky to have received officers to be placed in all of our elementary schools. Last year was the first year of this program. This is the second year. We feel like we've got a lot of great officers in place that are finding their way and finding their home at their respective schools. A lot of great relationships being built, and we just wanted to have an opportunity to let you meet those folks and have these two share some of their experiences with you as the supervisors and as former SROs themselves. But let's just go through some of the officers or all of our SROs that we have in schools. We are obviously partnered with Clover PD and with York County based on the jurisdiction location of the school, and our Clover Police Department officers are Mr. Charlie Randall at Lauren Elementary, Mr. William McCoy at BEA, and Mr. Nicholas Richards at Kynard. We have a lot more county schools, so we got several more York County SROs in play here. At Bethany, we have Mr. Billy Dover is our SRO, Mr. Andy Boone at Oak Ridge Elementary, Mr. Patrick Williams at Bethel, Mr. Chris West at Crowder's Creek, Mr. Nathan Ferrara at Griggs Road, and Mr. Ray Feaster at OMS, who is going to be retiring this December. We will have someone come in November to shadow him for a little bit, but we wish Mr. Feaster well. He's been a long-time SRO for us at several different schools through the years. Mr. Mike DiGiacomo at Clover Middle School, Ms. Chelsea Jordan at the 9th grade campus, and Mr. John King at Clover High School. And as I mentioned, I invited tonight with us Sergeant Tracy Reed from Clover Police Department and Sergeant Brandon McCoy from the York County Sheriff's Office. These gentlemen serve currently as the supervisor of SROs in their respective agencies. Both of them, as I mentioned, have been SROs in our school district. Mr. Reed was the SRO at BA for many years, and Mr. McCoy was our high school SRO at the transition time into Mr. Ruth. And now they're both in these leadership roles, and they bring a wealth of experience as seasoned SROs to the position of supervisor, and I've worked very closely with these two as we've implemented this program and made sure the right people were in the right seats on the bus. So what I wanted to do is turn it over to them and just let them share a little bit about what SROs do and don't do, and a little bit of their experience as SROs working with kids and principals, and give you an opportunity to ask any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mark. My name is Brandon McCoy. I've been with the York County Sheriff's Office for almost 17 years now. I came over to the SRO unit in 2017 and was an SRO at the high school for about 6 years, I believe. This is year 3 for me, moving into a role as a supervisor over that unit, as it has grown into a pretty big unit at the Sheriff's Office. Just on our side of the county, we have 9 SROs here in Clover School District. So that experience being in the SRO unit and being at the school, one of the biggest schools in the state we all know of, has helped me step into that role to supervise all of these SROs and kind of guide them. And we all know that the elementary schools are transitioned last year, the first time ever having an SRO at those schools. It was kind of different for the principals and the SROs. A lot of them were brand new, but rolling into year 2, I think we've actually kept it rolling and kept a good plan and kept that relationship moving pretty well. So, and I'll let Tracy step on it.
Thank you. My name is Sergeant Tracy Reed. I want to thank Dr. Hopkins and the school board for having us this evening at this presentation. I am proud to be a part of the Clover School District and to be an SRO in this town as well as the county. We thank you for having us here today. And I've been the SRO at Blue Eagle for 6 years. And after the grant came in, Chief Grice asked me to take over the SROs, of which we are proud of. In the last few months, we've had Officer Richards, he was the Employee of the Month at Kynert, and Officer Randall was the Employee of the Month at Lauren. And we're proud of that, and we hope that we can do what we asked of you to do is to keep everybody safe. That's our job, is to keep everybody safe, and we want to make sure that we keep everyone in perspective of our safety of our students and our district and our staff. Thank you.
So just to piggyback off of, what we do at the schools, we all know that there are big threats out there, and unfortunately those threats attack our schools sometimes. We all know the SRO units really started in the United States with the active shooter stuff, active assailant stuff. But over the years, this role has grown very large into one of these roles where not only we're the SRO at the school, and we do make sure that, number one, we are secure, we're making sure that our students are safe, the staff is safe, but we have kind of evolved into one of those roles where we wear several hats, right? So we're coaches, we're counselors, we're peers. We build that relationship with these students just so they know that they see, I told Mark earlier today that it's nice when these kids see the police officers in a different role other than just what they see on TV sometimes. They see us as people as well, right? So it's nice when we build these relationships with some of these students, and I go back into the school for something and I see a kid who recognizes me or outside of school and they recognize you, and it's great building that relationship. So that's one of the main things that we do besides just the security part of it.
As he mentioned, we have a lot of our officers that serve as ambassadors and classroom instructors. They give talks to students on law enforcement issues and things like that. A good example or reading to students, a good example is Officer Randall at Lauren. And I think Tracy has a couple of good words about him.
Yes, sir. Officer Randall has really intertwined with the students. He's always there for them, even in the days that they go home. He's checking on them. He's always making sure that things are good with the parents at home. And sometimes there are no parents that are capable of taking care of the children sometime, and our SROs step right in, and they move in nice ways to make sure that the students are okay even at the school as well as at home. And we thank them for that. And I want the district to know that we are on top of it 100%. We want everybody to feel comfortable, especially our students and our parents of the students. We thank God for them.
Just in closing, a little bit to make sure that everybody understands, our SROs play a lot of roles, but one that they do not play, they're not the disciplinarians of the school. They don't issue consequences, they don't write students up, but they are an adult that sees things and helps report it to the appropriate people. And certainly if law enforcement or if a law is being broken, they're going to step in immediately, but they don't directly handle discipline. And they do a great job of walking that line with our principals. We're very thankful for the SROs we have and for the leadership of these two gentlemen behind me. And I'll turn it over to the board if you have any questions about the program or for any of these gentlemen. We'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody got any questions?
All right. Thank you all very much.
Appreciate what y'all do.
Thank you for what you do. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Knott and her team of road crew students to come forward and when it's appropriate for them to present. I am so excited about the work these young people have done on this project. It turned out 1,000 times better than I even thought it would. So, Ms. Knott, if you will take us through the process, and board, you're going to get to see some things and vote on something tonight that is completely from our students. So, Ms. Knott.
Good evening. I am pleased to kick off this presentation with just a quick review of the process that we have gone through that brought us to this evening before our students share their work with you. The process started back in August with a district-wide student survey. In September, I was in the schools of all of these students, meeting with them in teams of 3, and we took a look at the results of that survey and winnowed down those results to bring you a recommendation for the name of the 6 roads on the campus of Lake Wiley High School, and one road that kind of veers off over towards Liberty Hill Elementary and has been named in that spirit as well, or has a recommendation in that spirit as well. And so this evening, the road crew is here to bring you their recommendations. So we're going to start with our students from Bethel Elementary.
Hello, I am Caden, and I'm excited to present our name for the Pink Road in the new high school.
Hi, my name is Tessa. The Pink Road is the bus loop.
We decided to name it Energy Loop. The name represents the positive energy of students arriving at school in the bus loop. The idea is that students are charging up the campus as they arrive.
Next, we have Crowder's Creek.
Pull it down.
Yeah, pull it down.
Hi, my name is Hannah East Joseph, and I am from Crowders Creek Elementary School.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Campbell, and I do not know what to say. What am I supposed to say?
Anna East will show you here. She's got the slides.
The Purple Road accesses the property of the rear behind the future Liberty Hill Elementary School.
Blue Lightning Way. Blue Lightning Way invokes the school colors and refers to the weather phenomenon. Blue lightning is the most dangerous cloud to ground lightning that comes out of the backside of a thunderstorm.
Our students from Griggs could not join us this evening, so I'm going to go ahead and share their recommendation with you. This is the Blue Road, and it's the main road that will lead to Liberty Hill Elementary School. Staff and parents will both use the entrance. And this was kind of a funny choice on the part of those students as well. They talked about all of the values of being a patriot, the mascot at Liberty Hill, talked about calling it freedom, talked about calling it liberty, talked about calling it independence, but they finally decided that American just wrapped it all up in one tidy package. And so with that, they recommended American Avenue as the road that leads off to Liberty Hill Elementary School. Next, we have our students from Oak Ridge Elementary.
Oh, bless your heart.
Hi, my name is Finley from Oak Ridge Elementary School, and we did the Green Road. The Green Road leads to the Band and Fine Arts wing of Lake Wiley High School. We decided to name it the Gold Rush Drive. The Gold Rush Drive was selected to reflect one of the school's colors and the rush of an electrical charge. It's likely to be a spirit theme for athletic events.
Next, we have Oak Ridge Middle School.
Wait, which way do
Hi, I'm Anna Cox, and I'm from Oak Ridge Middle School, and we decided we get to choose the yellow road's name, and it's going to be the main entrance to the school and the parent drop-off location. We decided on naming it Electric Avenue because it's catchy and easy to remember, and it relates to the school theme of energy and power.
And we wrap up at the 9th grade campus.
Hi, my name is Lena Menace.
And my name's Alexis Rush.
And we chose the Red Road, which is the longest road on the Lake Wiley campus. This will most likely be the bus entrance.
We decided to name it Radioactive Highway because it was supposed to send a danger message to the athletic opponents.
Thank you.
So we're going to summarize that. The recommendation of the road crew is that the Purple Road is named Blue Lightning Way, the Green Road, Gold Rush Drive, the Pink Road, Energy Loop, the Red Road, Radioactive Highway, the Yellow Road, Electric Avenue, the Blue Road, American Avenue. And if you have any questions for the members of our road crew, they are glad to entertain those. But as we finish the questions, we're going to call them all up here, and we have a certificate for them to recognize their work on this project with us.
Any questions from the board?
Now, these are fantastic.
Great job.
Great. Thank y'all. Real quickly before we do that, without objection, the board will approve the CSD road crew's recommendations for the naming of the roads off Cannonball Run. Hearing none, the road names are approved. Thank you.
y'all want to come on up?
I love Electric Avenue.
Great job, guys.
Fantastic work, guys. We appreciate it.
Dan needs to start learning Electric Avenue pretty quick.
It feels a whole lot more personal on that site now, just having those road names named. So thank you guys very much. Next up, we'll ask Ross Hunter to come forward. He is our Director of Transportation. Mr. Hunter, if you'll come forward.
Every year.
He has an effect on people.
All right, good evening, Dr. Quinn, members of the board. My name is Ross Hunter, and I forgot what I was supposed to say, but good thing I have this up here. Perfect segue, right? Talking about roads, and now we're going to talk about buses for a few minutes. All right, so our current lineup this year, we've added a few drivers, as you guys can see, to the roster this year. I want to tell every one of you guys I appreciate the hard work for the 7 drivers. A lot of my slides here will be talking about how we've utilized all those positions this year. So our biggest need this year, obviously, was our sped routes. We were getting students to school late on the high school tier last year quite a few times. So we added 2 special needs buses to the area this year, which has helped us tremendously. We've added buses in the Bethany area. We've added 2 buses in the Lake Wiley area, DePaul Branch area. And then the biggest one we've gotten right now is the Allison Creek area. We'll talk about that in detail in a few more minutes. Good news is that we're actually got more students riding the college buses this year, going down to York Tech, the Lyman. We've got 2 buses that are operating for those students. We've added a part-time driver for the AM and PM route, so that helps out on our daily operation. Time improvements. So last year on the high school level, we weren't picking our last students up until about 10 minutes to 5. So think about that. You're in school all day, and then you know you have almost an hour outside to wait, or inside the building on the high school side, and you got to wait another hour for your ride to come and get you. And then on top of that, you have to ride home after that. So that was a big concern for us. So most of those buses were the Lake Wiley buses, having a long time to get back. So those additional bus drivers that you guys approved last year, we put those people to work getting those students home. So we're emptying the high school around 4:25 to 4:30 this year. All right, so the first slide on your left here of the cleared property is the newest subdivision on Allison Creek Road. If you go down Allison Creek Road, it's the first subdivision there on the right. That drone shot is from May, and the one you see with the houses is from last week. So I wanted to give you guys kind of an illustration of what we deal with in my department is The drivers will call in saying, hey, they're clearing land. Next thing you know, we're picking up kids. So this year, we added a bus to this area. She's picking up a few students in here, and they're already building houses, and I would expect some people are going to be moving in before we go to Christmas break on the opposite side of 49 for the new Mariners Point subdivision. So I was in there last week, and you can see realtors walking around in there showing people homes. So that bus will also service that area as well. All right, so growth strategy for the next few years for us. This is something we technically do every year, but I wanted to put this in here. I know that I'm going to ask for probably the same amount of drivers again this year in addition to what we did last year, but I put that June time frame in there because it's very difficult when I understand that we don't approve the budget until July 1st, but it's very hard to hire someone with a CDL and get them through the whole process in 30 days to start school. So if possible, I would love to be able to start hiring some drivers before July 1st. So over the next 2 years, this is kind of what our needs are going to be with the growth in the area that we have. On the right-hand side, I just put a couple little blurbs in there. You know, we're going to have to transfer those students from the new high school to the ATC. Every day that those students are taking those classes. Our current band is utilizing 7 full buses anywhere they go. They're using our buses, our activity buses, and they're using our state fleet. And I want you guys to look at this where I put 8 full-time sub-drivers. That's going to be critical for us. Some of the things that you guys probably hear about is when we have a lot of people call in sick, especially as we go into cold season, you know, people can be out for 2 or 3 or 4 days now. So we really need to start beefing up our full-time sub-department for that. And then additionally, we still need to be adding to our activity fleet so we can be ready for the new schools that are coming.
Mr. Hunter, what's an activity bus cost these days? What's the most update?
A current 78 passenger diesel bus is around $145,000. And that's minimum options. And you're looking at about 1.5 years before we even get it here at the lot. There are some used buses that we can purchase from the same vendor. Buses will range from anywhere from 2017 to 2020 models with 120,000 miles on them. We could pick up for about $65,000, and we can get those buses within 2 to 3 months.
Thank you.
I've spoken to you guys a few times over the last couple of years about we're going to need to be expanded. Our parking lot has about 7 to 10 spaces available in it. I've got the maintenance crew out. They're painting lines in the back of our parking lot on the loop side for buses. I've got new state buses coming in, so our actual bus parking lot is full, as well as our staff parking lot is getting full. Our building is getting very close to being over capacity, and we're really going to have to start looking at doing our own maintenance in-house. We have a new contractor this year. I want to make it crystal clear, those guys are doing an excellent job. But at the end of the day, we are not their only customer. So we have to get in line. So to give you an example, last year, I had a turbo go out on the bus. I had to take it to a local shop, and they had it for about 3.5 months, and it cost us about $13,000 for the repair. Versus if we had our in-house person, we could probably fix it a lot faster with a lot less cost.
So you're saying a bus mechanic position?
Absolutely, with a building as well. They would need to do that. So, Rob, you got a question?
No, I was saying you need somewhere to put the mechanic as well.
Yes, sir. And this is kind of what they would be doing. There's a lot that goes into a bus. For instance, we can't drop a school bus off at a normal mechanic shop. You have to be state certified to even look at the brakes on our buses.
Mr. Hunter, are there local districts who utilize in-house mechanics?
Yes, ma'am. Fort Mill has a shop. Rock Hill has a shop. York has a shop. They have one mechanic that works there. Most districts do when they get to around the size of the fleet that we have.
Are there opportunities to partner with any of them?
We could look into that option.
York One and I have talked about that, partnering on that, sharing a facility and a driver, sharing costs.
And so how many,
Informally, not formally, but.
Right.
how many, the ratio, that's 20 buses to one mechanic?
Yes.
So you're looking at least 4?
No, ma'am. So when we talk about our maintenance, we're talking about our fleet, not the state fleet.
Right.
The state fleet is the best deal in America. We have the key and keep the bus clean. They fuel it and do everything else.
Okay,
So I'm
okay.
simply talking about our school buses that say Clover School District on them.
The activity ones.
Activity
Yes,
buses.
yes,
I
sir.
have some yellow and some blues and the
Yes.
blue lights that you know.
And we'd also have that opportunity for that individual to work on our vehicle fleet as well, our tractors and maintenance equipment as well. So it could be, we could have more than just that. All right, anybody have any questions for me?
And just to be clear, you say we most often try to pick up a bus with, you said 100 and 120,000 miles?
No, sir. Typically, we buy a brand-new bus.
Okay.
But the cost of the buses went up about $50,000 in the last 3 years. And we had about a 9-month turnaround. We could buy a bus, but now it's over a year and a half.
Thank you, sir.
Ross, with the, I know we've had a couple issues in the last couple weeks with internet outages. And I
Yes,
know
ma'am.
that can be, a safety concern, definitely a notification concern. Do you have any suggestions for us for like backup plans with when the internet goes down? Is there something we could do to help you in that instance?
Our biggest struggle with that would be, we would have to send someone to a remote location that would have internet. And I guess the biggest issue would be, let's just say hypothetically, today we have no internet, and we're taking elementary students home, and you have a kindergartner and their parents aren't home. So then we have, the driver has the radio, they can radio into the office, but then we have no way of calling the school because the school doesn't have phone service either. So it's just a difficult situation. So I would think if we looked at a plan, we would need to do something for the entire district versus my department. But there are some small steps we could take, maybe looking at getting, Dr. Hopkins mentioned a few weeks ago about looking into some type of wireless option that we could deploy in those times.
Dr. Hopkins, would you share what we're going to do there?
We began talking about researching hotspots last year. We looked at all the carriers. They're carried through cellular service. That's how the hotspot works. And the one vendor that reaches all of our all of our schools within the district is AT&T. So we're working with them on pricing an individual hotspot for each of our schools and for transportation. Now, I'll give you an example. Those have limitations. The cause of Friday's outage was a cut AT&T line, which means the tower was out, which means that the hotspot would have also been out. So there's no foolproof way around that when those issues that kill our internet are way outside of our control. But it certainly will help in many circumstances.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Hunter.
you.
Thank you, Ross.
All right, next up is Ms. Knott again. She's had a busy night tonight. We're going to be talking about our 25-26 calendar for second reading.
So I picked this project up from Mr. Dillon, who's carried it this far, and I'm just going to get it across the goal line for us this evening. As a reminder, Mr. Dillon and Dr. Quinn were involved in a great deal of feedback gathering related to the calendar. That started back in September with the Parent Advisory Committee, and then culminated with an open survey September 24th to October 11th that collected nearly 2,000 responses from both parents and staff. And again, there is only a single draft proposed. We're not looking at a version A and B as we sometimes have in the past. So this particular survey looked at the impact of the modified balance calendar and aspects of it on our students, and asked both parents and teachers those questions. So in terms of that feedback, students and staff were able to adjust to the earlier start time. Again, we had an 81% strongly agree or agreed with that statement. We had another question related to intersessions and about whether they allowed teaching staff and students an opportunity to refresh and refocus. And again, 88% either strongly agreed or agreed with that statement. We also, this particular question we've parsed, so you have a student slide and a parent slide. Parents were asked the question, have you seen any impact on your student, either positively or negatively, with the addition of the intersession? And 92% of parents reported either a positive or a neutral student impact, while 8% reported a negative impact on their student. The results were similar for teachers, even though they've been separated out here. 96% of teachers reported either a positive or a neutral impact on students. 4% of teachers reported a negative impact. And so again, the recommendation for this year is another modified balanced calendar. Again, this is on its second reading, but just as a refresh, it has a start date of August 4th and an end date of May 28th. It observes the usual holidays, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Memorial Day. It has the 2 intersessions in October and February, the regular extended breaks that we take in winter and in spring, and that's the recommendation for this evening.
Board, do you have any questions for the calendar for second reading?
Was there a reason why we just went to one and didn't have an option A, option B?
I believe the situation had to do with some of our start and end dates and the fact that some of our neighboring districts had already approved their calendars. And so this one does align with some of those calendars that are already out there.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's not, I know there's we had a question at one point from a parent or parent group about looking at Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving, those couple days, making that a full week by using some half days and different things and not taking away the intercession. I don't remember hearing a lot of feedback on that. I don't know where we ended up with that or if there was much.
There wasn't, I mean, we had a few people who again, supported that, but there was not an overswell of support for it. So the version of the calendar that was brought forward earlier is the one that we have this evening.
I think it's something that a few of us keep hearing every year. With,
Yeah.
I guess just with the shortened week, everybody assumes it makes sense, but.
Yeah, we did ask our parent advisory group that, and most of them said in that particular group that the current 3 days align with their work schedule, and they would just assume keep the full week in October and have the Thanksgiving stay the same. But again, that was a small group, but that's what they reported back.
Was there an option on the survey to make a suggestion or to change, like did they have a place to type in anything, or was it all answering?
I believe there were open-ended questions at the end, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Dr. Quinn, is it too late for us to revisit that week in November?
Yes, this is the one we're bringing to the board tonight. And I mean, unless you think there's a groundswell of people out there that would want to change it, but we have not heard that. Even given the survey, 2,000 parents responded, just didn't hear that.
I just don't even remember, and I'm not trying to upset the apple cart here
No,
the last minute, but
that's a good question.
I just don't remember how we were going to get those 3 days back. I think that was the.
We'd have to
had
take them out of the
move something
October
around,
intercession.
right.
So
Yeah,
you
which-
lose 2 days there,
And I-
gain 2 days
And I
here.
think that's,
Yeah.
the alternative was you lose a whole week.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Do you want a week closer to Christmas break or a
Right.
week in October at the end of the first 9 weeks? And that seemed to be the favored one.
And there's an intentional timing for the intercession
Correct.
breaks as they are. If we were to move them back, it throws all that off.
Yeah, and I will say this, and Dr. Dickey can correct me on the numbers, and Rod Ruth can as well, but we had a pretty good turnout at the 9th grade campus for kids coming, making up their grades. We had good numbers at our high school. So when you keep that intercession right after a 9 weeks, and students have an opportunity to recover a credit or two if they're not doing so well, it really is a big help. We also had how many students come to our STEM camp from elementary?
registered 45.
45 elementary kids who came to STEM camp. And the one thing that they said is, we want another day. We'd love it to be 3 days. So that was a pretty popular option. All right, other questions, board?
All right, without objection, the board will approve the 2024-2025 school calendar as presented.
It's 25, 26, I think.
Yeah, it's 25.
It is 25-26. We did it wrong on here. Okay, without objection, we will approve the 2025-2026 school calendar as presented. Hearing none, its calendar's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then last but not least, we have several policies. I'll ask Ms. Sauls to come forward. These first few will be for first reading, and then we will have a second set for second reading.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Quinn and members of the board. We're going to go back. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit and present for you the policies that we read for first, or we presented last session for discussion. And I'm going to show you the changes that were reflected in based on the discussion. And then we'll go back and talk about the policies for second reading. So these first policies here, you'll see there were no changes except for one in IKE. And then with the policies presented here, there was a slight, some language changes or policy changes in JICJ, which was the cell phone policy. So now I'm going to, that was just a preview, I'm going to show you the actual changes that we made. So in IKE, there was language, it was brought up about the language concerning our students in special education programs. So we reworded that to say that students will be subject to the provisions of their individual educational plan or their IEP. So we wanted to take that language and just change some of the verbs that were used initially in the model policy. And then second, there was just a slight language edit here. We changed the word, we struck the word that to reflect the word who and make that change in IKE. There was a slight edit in ILB, where we just added the superintendent or his/her designee. So we made that edit. And then in JICJ, the cell phone policy, we just wanted to show that there was a redaction of the language concerning elementary, middle, and high school students to just reflect the entire, that's all reflected in the entire policy. So those are the changes that we made based on the discussion a few weeks ago. Now I'm going to go back to the policies that we initially started talking about in September. Those are, most of them are instruction policies, and based on the discussion and your input from first reading, there were no changes to be made or any other discussion made concerning those policies reflected here on the screen. Again, those are instruction policies primarily. There were a few regarding student services. And then moving into some of those that more reflect the student services sector of our work here. Again, there were no changes discussed at the last session concerning those policies. So this is the second reading of those policies, and so we'd like to ask for your approval to move forward with those policies as written.
Any comments from the board on the second reading ones? Okay, without objection, the board will approve policies IJ, IJK, IJL, KEC, KEC-R, KEC-E, JKE-R, ECAA, JLCDB, JLCDA, JLCDA-R, and JLCG. Please don't let me say that again.
And JH.
And JH, sorry.
And then I don't remember if we said ECAA and EE.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay, wonderful.
Hearing none, they are approved.
Thank you.
They are approved? You want
No, I'm not going through that one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next up, we have Dr. Hopkins with our monthly facilities report.
Just wanted to give you a quick update on what's happening. Our list gets shorter and shorter every month. You can see a little extended version in the supporting document, the LMG report that I provided to you in your packet as well. Just go through some of the projects that are wrapping up at the high school, wrapping up or hopefully wrapping up sooner than later. The field house, the roof, the insulation, the siding panels are in, the translucent panels are on site. They're inside working on walls and interior plumbing and electric and all that good stuff. So it's coming along finally at a pace that we're happy with. The Roosevelt Middle School Fine Arts Wing is going vertical. Bricks are going up right now as we speak. I've got a few shots of it. And the entrances at the high school, if you've noticed going by, they have been recently landscaped, so we're looking for that to take hold and the grass to start coming in. And just like Bethany has grown over the past year, you go there now and it looks like it's been there forever. We're hopeful that the high school will look that way sooner than later as well. Just want to share a few pictures of these projects. Here's a picture of the field house back behind adjacent to the band field. You can see it's a big structure going up, lots happening, almost closed in, probably about 80% closed in, it looks like at this point. Those open areas that you see will be the translucent paneling, which will let some natural light into that building. Here's the interior. You're standing in the weight room right here. Looking back on the other side of that wall is the wrestling room and wrestling area. Here's an overhead shot from the bus road at the building pad of the Fine Arts Center behind Roosevelt Middle School. You'll see the chorus, band, and percussion room there. It's sort of laid out in the hallway in the front that will connect to the building. Here's another picture a little lower from the road. You can see the retaining wall, and that's where the ADA entrance will be. And pretty soon you will see the brick go in, and we are going to be having the two-tone brick, so we'll match with the existing building as well as we can make it. Here's some of the landscaping that I mentioned. This is the bus loop further out at the 9th grade campus in front of that building. Once some grass comes in, we think it'll start looking much better. It takes a little while. We luckily saw a little rain yesterday or over the weekend, and hopefully a little more will come, but just in that little spat was perfect. Liberty Hill Elementary School site clearing and stormwater placement is underway. They've got some retention ponds built. Some will stay, some are just there for the duration of the construction and the site. The entrance from West Liberty Hill is pretty, the stormwater's in it, the crossing's in. We've got the entrance drivable for a truck from West Liberty Hill onto the site. Here's a few shots of the high school. We're actually in the air from this shot over West Liberty Hill Road looking back. The road you see coming up from the middle comes from West Liberty Hill Road, and all that area to the left will be the location of the elementary school. Further off in the right upper corner, you can see the edge of the high school campus. Lake Wylie High School is coming along. Retaining walls are up in many areas. The precast walls in the gym area A are in. Footings in 2 of the academic wings and partial of the office area are in. We've got some areas already going vertical with block as we speak. The entrances, one of the entrances has curb and binder, which is the first layer of asphalt down, as that will be the construction entrance for the high school itself. And that area is becoming very, very busy. We had an opportunity for John Hadaway, our LMG representative, to host cabinet members out there yesterday, and I think Dr. Quinn and Dr. Dickey and Mr. Ruth had an opportunity to go, Mr. Love and Ms. Sauls had an opportunity to go visit, and I'll just let them share just a minute of what they experienced.
It's so big. It is a huge site. You really get a sense of the vastness of it when you get in it and riding through it. And the gym that's going to be sunken down low, you can drive down in there right now in a truck. You can't drive it in a car. And we really are very much looking forward to a groundbreaking soon for Liberty Hill Elementary School. We just are trying to make sure that entrance on that side is drivable so we can bring some people in. But it's coming very, very soon for that groundbreaking, and we're excited about it.
Just to share a few shots, there at the bottom you see Cannonball Run. The road to the right is the newly named Electric Avenue, the one with the asphalt there, and that will go into the main entrance. Over to the left will be Radioactive Highway, and then the elementary entrance is further to the right. Here's an overhead shot, two of the academic wings, G and H, that are going up. If you go from this area down to the bottom right corner, that will be the main office area. Then there will be a third wing off of that, and then the band and fine arts area behind it. I think I've got another, well, I didn't have a really good shot of the gym, I'm sorry, but the gym is directly to the left, sort of southwest of this location, where it goes down and Electric Avenue comes in behind it. Pretty amazing site. It's starting to come together. Still a lot of work to be done, but we feel really good about where our contractors are, especially the constructors, starting with those buildings, are all on board and very excited to get this done.
I just say hats off to our site work group, HOOPA. You know, they had a very tough job because the county delayed us several months to get started, and then they had a deadline to get that site pad ready by July or August, and they moved a lot of earth to get that done, and they did it under budget, which is another big deal. Not under budget, at budget at least.
Right.
So really, really proud of that group, and we'll see what the elementary group does as well. That's a different contractor, and we're sure they're going to be great as well, but just happy that HOOPA was able to get us back on schedule.
A lot of time being spent making sure that the not competing contractors, but the different contractors. We've got 2 grading contractors. We'll have 2 constructing contractors out there, making sure that everybody knows their boundaries and knows where their right entrances are, who's responsible for what. So a lot of that work's gone into that before they all fill that site up. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Every year, we love to bring our friends from Green Finney here to do the financial audit. Mr. Love, would you like to come forward and do your presentation as well as the financial audit?
Thank you, Dr. Quinn and Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Somehow the couple less popular parts of my report didn't get printed in the slides tonight, but I do want to mention that we're where we normally would be at this time of year in terms of revenue and expenditures. We have taken in we have spent $24,377,000, and we have taken in $14,044,000. So our fund balance is going down like it normally does at this time of year. We also would like to report that the bonds for the construction of both Liberty Hill Elementary and Lake Wiley High School were financed on October the 1st. We're in the second payment cycle of those. We will repay some next spring and start it all over again for the completion of those projects. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Ken Meadows from our audit firm who has been here, or his crew's been here for, seems like a couple months, but nonetheless it's gone pretty quickly. And he has the report for our final audit results for this past year. So can you start?
All right. Hello, I'm Ken Meadows with Green Finney Colley. It was my pleasure to serve as a partner on the audit again this year. It went very well. I'd like to thank Ken for all his help and Amy with all her help. We're here a little bit earlier than we have been the last 2 years, and that's because the audit went very well. And that's because they've answered all our questions in a timely manner and given us all the information we need. So, as we've done in the past, I'll just run through a PowerPoint presentation, just kind of giving you the highlights. But as always, when you look into the financial statements, if you have questions, please feel free to let me know. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have or any concerns that you might have. The first thing that we get to when we look at the financial statements or the opinions or the opinion, and it kind of reminds everyone who's responsible for what. So I'll remind you of that as well. You know, the district is responsible for the financial statements and the underlying accounting records. You're also responsible for your internal controls. Our responsibility is to come in and provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. So we don't audit every transaction in the district. We may do a sampling of transactions. We may do some analytical reviews. ultimately, our goal is to make sure that the financial statements are materially correct. So there's a level of materiality there as well. So, and then it's also not a forensic audit. A lot of people hear the word audit and think you're here to find fraud. So if you give a good report, there must not be any fraud in the district. Well, that's not the purpose of our audit. It's not a forensic audit. It's a financial statement audit. So just bear that in mind. And then finally, you got an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion you can get. That's the one most people get. So that's good. So next, we'll just kind of look at the funds. With most emphasis on the general fund. You'll see the general fund, the fund balance there increased $1.1 million to about $32 million in the year. So, and that's about 26%, 25% of budgeted and actual expenditures. That's around what your goal is. So that's about 3 months worth of expenditures. We think that's a healthy fund balance. That's at least, the GFOA recommends 2 months worth, but y'all have got 3 months, which we think is appropriate. So y'all have done very well in that regard. And just to remind you, fund balance, you want to have a healthy fund balance 3 months worth or so, because at June 30th, when the fiscal year ends, you've still got 6 more months worth of operations to fund before property taxes start flowing back in. So at June 30th, if you didn't have enough money set aside in fund balance, you're going to run into cash flow difficulties come later in the calendar year. So that's the main reason why you want to have a healthy fund balance. But then you've also got savings for emergencies. You may have future planned spending that you're saving up for and stuff like that. So looking at revenues for the year, the general fund revenues were close to $120 million. You'll see most of that comes from property taxes and then also from the state. That's an increase of about 9% or $10 million from the prior year. And you'll see that property taxes increased to almost $6 million, mainly due to an increase in millage and then assessed values. The state also increased the amount of revenues that they sent the district to about $3 million. And then investment earnings also went up, and that contributed to about $1.2 million in increased revenue. With the rates going a little bit higher than they have been historically or recently, y'all got about $1.2 million worth of revenue there. So compared to budget, it came in about $5 million over budget, so revenues came in higher than budgeted by about $5 million, mainly due to higher investment earnings, like I just talked about, and then also tax revenues. And then you also had transfers in this year of about $6.4 million. Most of that was the state aid to classrooms that flows through the EIA fund. So it goes to the EIA fund. They transfer it over to cover expenditures in the general fund. So that's the bulk of what that was. Looking at expenditures for the general fund, you'll see that was about $123 million for the year. As you would expect, most of that's instruction and support services. You also had about $2.7 million in debt service this year related to the Apple leases of the Apple devices. That's new this year. Those devices, those leases and everything have been around for a while, but you'll see in a couple slides I mentioned new accounting standards that were implemented. Well, that's the impact of this new accounting standard, where you basically recognize it as a finance purchase, not just a normal lease that you make monthly payments. So you kind of treat it like debt. So you'll see that here we're recording the debt, the payments. And then a couple down bullet points down below, the finance purchase proceeds of $2.1 million. That's basically when you enter into these leases, they kind of view it as debt, so you're getting $2.1 million that you immediately turn around and use to purchase these devices. So both of those are kind of new this year. Didn't really change the dynamics of the actual transactions. So the cash flows are still the same. You're still making monthly payments, I believe, or annual payments. But anyway, it's more or less an accounting thing. So you'll see that in the financial statements when you look at that. And looking at general fund expenditures, that's an increase of about $16 million this year, about 15% increase, and that was mainly due to higher wages and benefits this year. Other financing sources, as I mentioned, you'll see the proceeds there from the Apple leases. That was actually money coming into the district, and then transfers out of $3.6 million. So y'all transferred out from the general fund $3 million to the capital projects fund, and then $600,000 to the special revenue fund to kind of supplement pupil activities that are recorded in the special revenue funds. Overall, compared to budget, looking at expenditures and then other financing sources, you're about $3.9 million over budget, and that's mainly due to the $3.6 million in transfers. Those weren't budgeted, so when you look at that line item, it's about $3.6 million over. So, and then you also had some instruction expenditures and capital outlay that were over by about $300,000 in total. So that makes up that. So that's a real quick overview of the general fund. We'll just quickly go through some of the other funds. The debt service fund, which is used to service your debt, had about a $4 million fund balance at year end. So that's about 7% of your needs for the fiscal year 2025. The other 93% or more will be made up by, debt millage that's collected during the year, and that's kind of monitored by the county and set by the county. So the capital projects fund had an $89.2 million fund balance. You'll see that's made up of various components. So you've had about $5 million in unspent impact fees that have accumulated in that fund. You've got about $63.5 million of unspent bond proceeds. So y'all have issued bonds here over the last year or two, and those proceeds haven't been spent. So at June 30th, you had about $63 million remaining on that. And then you had monies that you transferred in from the general fund to the capital projects fund over the years, including this year, and that accumulated to about $20.6 million. So that's basically the three buckets that make up that $89 million fund balance. Almost all of that fund balance is slated to be spent over the next 2 or 3 years, as I'm sure you're well aware. That includes commitments that you've entered into at June 30th of about $27 million. So it's I've got a nice fund balance there, but I've got nice plans for it as well. So the special revenue funds, you'll see those typically don't have much of a fund balance because you either have to spend it or return it to the state or carry it over. So, but if pupil activity things will have some fund balance, and then some of the other ones may have a little bit of fund balance. So at year end, you had about $1.8 million in fund balance associated with special revenue and the EIA fund. And then you carried over about $700,000 in those funds to next fiscal year. And then the food service fund had a fund balance of about $1.8 million, and that's a decrease of about $400,000 from the prior year. And I think that was mainly due to higher salaries and wages, some equipment cost, and food cost also going up. So that's a real brief overview of all the funds. We'll kind of get you an idea of the statement of net position and just kind of give you a brief overview of where the district is from a statement of net position standpoint. You'll see assets for the district were about $350 million. Of that, cash and investments is a good chunk of that. It's $141 million at June 30th. And then you've also got capital assets, the buildings and land, net of depreciation, that's about $200,000. So those are your biggest buckets of assets. Offsetting those, you'll see are liabilities of $353 million. You've got about accounts payable and accrued expenses of about $15 million at year end. And then you had long-term obligations of about $129 million. That's mainly your debt, or is your debt, that was outstanding at year end. And then you've got the next two bullet points, the net pension accounts and the net OPEB accounts. Those are really your allocation of the state plans. The pension plan is a state plan, and the OPEB plan is a state plan. Both of those are very much underfunded. So they're, a couple years ago, or more than that, probably a few years ago, there was a new accounting guidance that said, for these state plans that are underfunded, we want y'all to allocate those unfunded positions out to all the various governments that participate in those plans. So this is your allocation of those those unfunded liabilities that those plans have. And you'll see it's about $124 million for the pension and $84 million for the OPEB plan. So once again, that's not a true liability of the district. Y'all will not have to be writing a check to pay for those liabilities. Where it does manifest itself is that they've increased the rates over the years. I think this past year they hit the highest rate that they could, and so it will stay there until something changes. So that's really where it is. But hopefully at some point you'll see those liabilities start coming back down. But who knows when that will be. And also really those, that's about $200 million worth of allocation of those state plans. That kind of puts you in a deficit and net position of about $800,000. So if you didn't have those two plans, you'd be very healthy. That's good. And that net position every year comes down. So I would expect next year it to be actually positive. I would think, but we'll see. So that's a statement of net position, just to kind of hit on a couple of major groups there, capital assets and long-term obligations, just kind of let you know what happened this past year in these capital assets were about $200 million. That's an increase of about $15 million from the previous year. That includes additions of $22 million. And you'll see there the major ones that y'all are probably all familiar with: Bethany Elementary, Lake Wiley High School, the fitness center, tennis courts. Those were the largest projects that were ongoing during the year, at least dollar-wise. And then offsetting the additions were a depreciation of about $7.6 million. So long-term obligations, you'll see your debt was about $128 million. That's an increase of about $40 million, $41 million from last year. That was mainly due to the issuance of a general obligation band for about $50 million, including a premium of about $700,000. Y'all also refunded some debt, so you'll see you issued debt for about $59 million. I think 50 of that or so was used to repay some existing debt that you had to bring down the rates and benefit from that. So overall, principal and refunding payments of $67 million were made during the year, and then the issuance of the GO ban and then the refunding debt, and then you also had the Apple leases that you entered into this year of $2.1 million, kind of offset those payments and led to an increase of about $40 million. So this coming year, debt payment, service payments are expected to be about $58 million. And then you've also issued $136 million in debt issuance subsequent to June 30th. So I'm sure you're all well aware of that as well. So that's just a real brief rundown of the long-term obligations. Final thing there is the accounting principle that I mentioned earlier. Y'all adopted a thing on group capital asset purchases that basically, historically, when y'all purchased like a single laptop or something like that, y'all wouldn't capitalize it because it wouldn't be high, enough value. But what happens if you buy, 100, 200, 500 of those, you would say, well, individually they're not significant enough, so we're not going to capitalize them. Well, the Gatsby came out and said, well, really, yeah, when it's a group purchase like that, you should be capitalizing them. So that's basically what this does. So that with the Apple leases, they kind of said capitalize those, and then as a result, we also recorded the financing that for those purchases as well. So if you look in here, you'll see the beginning balances were restated for a couple of those. It's not much. It's like $2 million here, $2 million there. Just the beginning balance of the fixed assets and the debt, and then beginning net position. So that's what that basically addresses there. But if y'all have got any questions about that, feel free to let me know, and we'll talk about the accounting. That's not the most exciting stuff. But anyway, That's a real brief overview of the finances. We also did a single audit this year as required every year. We looked at the USDA program this year. Everything looked fine there. So there were no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no findings. So everything looked good from there. From an internal control standpoint, we didn't find anything that really troubled us. Everything looked good as it usually does here. So just in summary, you all received the GFOA and the ASBO certificates of excellence in financial reporting this year. I can't remember how many, I think it's like 13 years, if I'm recalling correctly, that y'all have received those. So congratulations to Ken and Amy for that. And hopefully that stream continues. I would expect it to. And y'all are in healthy financial condition as of June 30th. So that's the presentation.
Those were a lot of words. Ford, do you have any questions?
We were in compliance, but were there any opportunities for improvement found during the audit?
There were some that we've shared with the superintendent and Ken and everything. Nothing significant that we'd bring to the board's attention and everything like that. The management letter or the governance letter that you get mentions something about the pupil activity things, because that's probably the riskiest thing from a public relations standpoint, because you've got a bookkeeper out at the schools that's basically doing everything. Ideally, you'd have some segregation of duties there, but from a cost benefit standpoint, it doesn't really make sense. So we always put that in the governance letter, or usually we would put that in there just to remind the board and others that, hey, that is a risky area, not necessarily from dollars involved, but you hear about it. It's not uncommon to hear about school districts getting in trouble with pupil activities and stuff. So
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that's been on there every year.
It has, and it's something that obviously we want to make sure when we collect money at the school level that it gets deposited as quickly as possible, not held overnight, those kinds of things. Those are the kinds of things that we talk about for improvement. We just need double checks behind things like that.
yeah, it seems like you're always reminding teachers and bookkeepers to turn in the monies, don't hold it in the classroom, don't hold it at the school overnight and stuff like that. So.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I was going to say, we appreciate serving you. We usually come in the springtime for interim work. We're back in the summer and fall to finish up the audit. If y'all have ever got any concerns, please let me know. Any issues? I mean, we work for the board, so we take that seriously. So if y'all ever have any concerns, please let me know.
Mr. Love and Ms. Cooper will sleep a lot better when this report is now finally turned in, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Without objection, the board will end the business meeting. Oh, hold on, there's objection.
This is a copy of the printed audit. It'll be online, but if you'd like one of these to read to help you go to sleep tonight.
I say, boy, as tempting as that is, we just check it out online.
Ginger, would you like it?
Ginger wants your party gift.
Your party gift.
I'm good.
Again, Ms. Marr, thank you for everything you've done as you hit the road on us. But without objection, the board will end the business meeting.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.